Introduction. Religion is a human relationship to anything which is holy, sacred, absolute, spiritual, divine, or worthy of great attention. It is often assumed to involve people's ultimate anxieties about their lives and their fate after death. Many traditions express this relationship in terms of one's attitude toward gods or spirits. Despite the fact that most religions have the same objective of peace, there are certain people who are religious to an extreme. Religious extremism is a long-standing phenomenon that takes several forms. This fanaticism frequently displays itself through violence or the formation of smaller organizations or cults. Islam implies surrender to Allah. A Muslim is someone who promises to submit to Allah. Muslims exhibit their Islamic beliefs via their everyday behaviors, which are largely guided by the Quran. Additionally, the religious system of Islam is less formal than that of Judaism or Christianity. Islam's 5 pillars are a declaration of faith in one God, which is Allah SWT, and His Messenger, Prophet Nabi Muhammad SAW. The Quran, which was revealed to Prophet Muhammad SAW, is one of these books. Every Muslim must pray 5 times a day for the rest of his or her life. This is made evident by the fact that Islamic history is concerned with the political, social, economic, and cultural development of the Islamic civilization. According to most historians, Islam started in Mecca and Medina in the early 7th century. Every Muslim is obligated to perform the sacred pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in their lives if they have the means.
Extremism, particularly among Muslims, is a contemporary challenge that requires attention. This is not a new issue. It dates back to the early days of Islam when Rasulullah SAW and the Khulafa al-Rashidin faced this group. It has progressed from a set of principles held by a few individuals to a group with its ideas, beliefs, and doctrines. The emergence of this extremist propensity spans distance, time, and location. It used to bring with various shapes and tendencies, but the underlying value of extremism remains the same: extremism cut beyond religion, ideology, belief, social geopolitics, and geopolitics. Several historical accounts demonstrate the presence of aspects of extremism in Muslim society at the time. Some of them are about how worship is conducted, and some extremism features that may be associated with violence. One of the wives of His Majesty Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Zainab radhiyallahu anha, was extreme in worshipping by hanging a rope on the pillar of the mosque to help her get out to pray. The Prophet has rebuked their conduct and them and advised them to be in the line of wasatiyah. Between 1980 and 2000, the government was thrown off by the appearance of new extremist groups or Islamic militants in the country. The tide of Islamic revival at the time pushed Malaysia's Muslim community want to learn more about Islam. With its network in the area and international terrorist organizations, the threat of terrorism posed by Islamic militant and radical groups in Malaysia is multifaceted. Malaysia was also surprised to learn that extremist and radical groups such as KMM, JI, and Al-Ma'unah were active in the country, fighting militantly and employing a revolutionary approach to seize power. Extremism is defined as activities that include beliefs, attitudes, feelings, actions, and techniques that are out of the ordinary from an individual or a group. Extremism can also be defined as going beyond the point of balance when interpreting and enforcing the rule of law. According to Qaradawi, extremism is defined as being as far away from the middle as possible, or in other words, estrangement in religion, thinking, and attitude. According to Al-Asqalani, extreme attitudes are often referred to as rulu in Sharia terminology, which means excess in a matter or overbearing on a situation. According to Ibn Manzur, ghulu is a religious tendency or model that differs from the concept of authentic religion. Various extremist characteristics can be identified. According to Qaradawi, extreme groups have specific traits such as being obsessive about one point of view, which leads to them readily rejecting and not tolerating other people's perspectives, since they believe theirs are the most accurate. They are also readily prejudiced against others who hold opposing viewpoints.
Khawarij group had been formed from Siffin War, which happened between Caliphate Ali and Muawiyah. The defeat of Caliphate Ali's army was caused curtain from them out of the army. They are the one called Khawarij. They fought the Caliphate Ali army and Muawiyah army and the Khawarij first generation group. This is because they are not satisfied about tahkim, which are doing by the Bud armies, and Caliphate Ali had lost his position. They have 200,000 people. With this total, they did rebellion. They expect other Muslim are kafir except them. The blood and wealth of other Muslim were halal. Khawarij word come from Arabic language, kharaja, which mean out, appear, arise and rebel. Khawarij mean in kalam, knowledge, which is a group who out from Caliphate Ali army because not satisfied with Tahkim agreement in Siffin War at 375 Hijri, 657 Masihi. Other views state the name was given based on Quranic sentence in Surah An-Nisa. A'udzubillah minasyaitonirrajim. وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغَمًا كَثِيرًا وَسَعَةٌ وَمَنْ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْتِهِ مُهَاجِرًا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ يُدْرِكُهُ الْمَوْتُ فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ Ghafurur Rahim. Factors of the emergence of Khawarij. The Khawarij emerged after the event of the Tahkim, which became the way to solve the war between Ali ibn Talib in the one hand and with Muawiyah on the other side. Caliphate Ali made peace with the Muawiyah armies. Caliphate Ali, under the leadership of Malik al-Ashtar, almost achieved a victory. They succeed in forcing Muawiyah army to retreat. Then Muawiyah saw his armies was desperate. He raised the Al-Quran high on the end of spear and said Al-Quran will become a witness to ours. They will be judged by the Al-Quran. The differences between the two Islam and Khawarij group. Islam religion distinguish Islam and Iman. When someone professes in Islam, They must believe in Allah and Prophet of Muhammad. Sometimes certain of Muslim will not have iman in their heart. Islam was a notification and iman was in the heart. Khawarij group was differ, the separation between Islam and iman. They believe charity and this was part of iman.
Al-Qaeda is a Sunni Islamic fundamentalist military organization whose primary goal is to reduce external influence on Islamic interests. Al-Qaeda was officially proclaimed by Osama bin Laden in August 1988 as the war against the Soviets drew to a close, beginning with the 1979 war in Afghanistan, which officially proclaimed by Osama bin Laden in August 1988 as the war against the Soviets drew to a close, beginning with the 1979 war in Afghanistan, which attracted the sympathy of Muslim youth in various countries. These young people came to Afghanistan to join the Muslim army against the Soviet occupation. For the number of youth in the hundreds of thousands gave rise to the idea that Abdullah Azzam and Osama bin Laden, a Palestinian cleric and a figure from Saudi Arabia, would set up an Al-Qaeda can be described as the first group to create a violent ideology based on religious teachings on a regular basis. Al-Qaeda also have ideology and religious beliefs have been communicated through various mediums, including face-to-face meetings with followers as well as the internet. They have also promoted their ideology through the publication of books and magazines.
The rise of Daesh, also known in the West as the Islamic State of Syria and Levant, ISIL, the Islamic State of Syria and Iraq, ISIS, or simply the Islamic State, IS, is another extension of the turmoil in West Asia and the spread of new kinds of terrorism that threaten global stability. Daesh is a jihadist organization based in northern Iraq that has ties to Al-Qaeda, a globally dreaded jihadist organization. However, most terrorism analysts believe Daesh is a different and more vicious than Al-Qaeda. The truth is that the Daesh movement is made up of Sunni Muslims, but it does not represent all Muslims of the same faith, and it has been heavily critiqued by countries all over the world. ISIL and Daesh are not affiliated with Islam, and Daesh do not represent any nation. Daesh is a terrorist organization that focuses on terrorist actions. The use of social media as a vehicle for delivering message and propaganda has a significant impact on Daesh's success, which has the support and backing of a small number of Muslims from around the world. Several studies have indicated that the use of social media has not only enticed a small number of Muslims to join the Daesh fight, but has also offered a motivating spirit in the form of the promise of martyrdom in exchange for their sacrifice. This movement's economics is built on thievery and donations from people's sympathy. Cause of emergence of Daesh. After the assassination of Osama bin Laden and establishment of an Afghan proxy government led by Hamid Karzai and Ashraf Ghani, Daesh rose to replace Al-Qaeda, which had begun to wane. Daesh began in 2013 and quickly grew in strength, attracting hundreds of jihad fighters to form the Dawla Islamiyah in Syria and Iraq. Despite the fact that Daesh appears to have lost their base, the group's attack and propaganda are still growing. The true difference of Islam and Daesh group. They use the concept of jihad taklifi in which followers of this sect are forced to perform jihad by means of violence. They believe that Daesh group today is a black flag army from the east and will be the army of Imam Mahdi. They are also confident that they will win, like which is promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is very firm in the hadith narrates a series of wars and murders before the day of judgment. But concept jihad in Islam, which is mentioned in Al-Tarfid, that Al-Jurjanal explains that what is mean with jihad. It is inviting towards the true religion. Based on the above view, it turns out that the jurists themselves do not limiting the concept of jihad to war against infidels only, but much wider than this. Rasulullah SAW also did not fight the infidels who did not interfere with the preaching of Islam in his time. Instead, he treated them with tenderness. How to deal with extremism in religion? Okay, first, individual. Unsocial attitude by some individuals are refusal to learn about Islam and simple being influenced by the internet is also the cause of Malaysian being affected with Daesh ideology. Therefore, each individual needs to depend the knowledge of Islam more widely so that each individual knows how true Islam is. Next, each individual must choose the right teacher, that is a teacher from the group of Sunnah wal Jama'ah, so that we do not deviate to another path.
How to deal in extremism in religion for students. They had been influenced by peers and by reading the book about extremism. Besides, in line with the technology nowadays, cause the flow of extremism continues to grow. Other than that, there are some misunderstanding with the concept of jihad. School authority should be take action to any student which involved in the extremism group, such as part on a school session or expel them out from school session, as well as university to avoid they influence other students. Besides, school or university authorities should discuss with their parents.
Recently, Muslims around the sector are all alarmed by the problems of extremism and terrorism. Extremism and terrorism are no longer in addition to non-secular or human values. The saddest factor is that the faith of Islam, which requires amiability, peace, and concord, in addition to tolerance for different beliefs is portrayed through extremists in a bad light, developing a picture of a hostile, threatening faith. However, there are no hyperlinks between extremism and terrorism and Islam. This is validated through the truth that is once greeting every different Muslim one for peace.